check this out. I want to show you something. Okay, so do you remember how last night Russell was investigating that abandoned mine? And he felt like he heard something coming from right behind him? I wanted to go back and see if there was possibly something we missed. And I think I might have found something.
From the amazing discoveries made during the search for a cave and the terrifying sensation of learning that a mysterious figure had invaded their camp to coming within an inch of the legendary creature, here is how Bigfoot was captured on LIDAR during a secret cave exploration. Searching for Bigfoot is a task that has plagued many for some centuries now. In the last 100 or so years alone, we have learned that it is one of the most elusive creatures out there. The creature is so elusive, we aren't even sure it exists. After all, everything that we know about this creature has come from theories developed from the anecdotal stories told by those who claim they saw it out there in the wild, or those who came with some dubious photos or videos claiming that they were able to record the form of this creature with their device. Alas, all these things did was cast more doubt that the creature is somewhere out there, perhaps most likely in one of the many woods and forests that are found in North America.
It creeped me out. I thought maybe it was some person, but the more I looked at it, the more I realized that it was a lot bigger than a normal person.
With that in mind, you can see why it is so difficult to bring this creature out of hiding once and for all. That said, many have ignored the murmurs of the naysayers so that they could go out there looking for the legendary cryptid. However, they have also either come back with some of the dubious accounts or clips we spoke about earlier, or even worse, they came back with absolutely nothing to add to the evidence that Bigfoot truly is out there. Thankfully, the guys at the Expedition Bigfoot team are doing all they can to buck such a trend. With the likes of Ronnie LeBlanc, Russell Accord, and Dr. Maria Mayer, the world-renowned primatologist, host and correspondent for some of the most established nature forums in the world, such as National Geographic, and you may find that it may truly be a matter of time before they bring Bigfoot out of the wilderness. That said, this is no easy task. Not only do these people risk their integrity chasing what many in the scientific community refer to as pseudoscience at best, they also have to brave the elements so that they can visit some of the most remote locations in all of North America as they go in chase of Bigfoot. It is truly a thankless task, but our only guess is that someone has to do it. Who better than these guys, right? Thankfully, they seem to be really up to the task, and with any luck, the state-of-the-art equipment that they carry along with them in this mission, as well as the different expertise that comes with the different members of the Expedition Bigfoot team, and you may find that they have more chances of success than some of the people who have gone out there hoping to find Bigfoot for themselves.
According to the LIDAR detection of this dog, I learned I could do this tactically. Methodically, I want to go in and go to my right. I'm going to go this way first.
The difference that LIDAR could make in the search for Bigfoot. Just look at the time the team decided to go out into the middle of the woods in the dead of night in search of the hairy creature. This time, they figured that they would probably make some progress if they went out there with their LIDAR equipment. Now, able to pick up anything that they come across in the dead of night, no matter how dark it is, this may just be the thing they need as they look to pick up the trail of the giant creature. Hoping to make the most of this opportunity, they were keen to do things as quietly as possible, so as not to stir the flight instincts that Bigfoot has before they can actually lay their eyes on it. They definitely did not want to miss anything.
Let's back out of here. Be still, stay still, stay still.
Well, the process was definitely not an easy one. Far away from home and doing their best to make their way through the dark, you could see that the only thing that was keeping these guys out there was their desire to bring the mystery of Bigfoot to an end. Despite their most keen desires, the team would run into a dead end before they even make any progress with their hunt that night. They had ventured into a cave hoping to find some evidence of the presence of Bigfoot, but all they got was a big fat nothing and a thick wall telling them they had to turn around. Unperturbed, they pushed on with this search for the mythical cryptid, hoping that their state-of-the-art equipment would make the difference. Looking for Bigfoot in the deep, dark cave. As they made their way through the cave, the team was startled by a noise that told them that they definitely were not alone in this cave. Despite being shaken for a moment or two, the team managed to regain their composure before listening out to hear what was going on around them. Were they actually alone and just scared by the sounds they had just heard? Or was there truly something in there with them? Convinced that there was something in there with them, they listened out some more as they acknowledged that they may not fare well if they are confronted by whatever was with them in that cave. They were at a clear disadvantage there, and they would not want to find themselves face to face with whatever could potentially be in there with them. Cursing their luck, the team knew they were trapped. Even worse, there was every chance that they were even lost there. As they made their way through the mine, they kept running into dead end after dead end, getting more and more frazzled with every moment that went by. Somehow, as they tried to find their way through this mine, they were still looking for any evidence they could lay their hands on.
As we're searching the swamp for any signs of what made that heat signature, something had triggered those motion sensors right by our tents.
Disappointed that they couldn't even find any footprints, their mission seemed to be even more daunting to some of the members of the team as they realized how deep the cave truly was. Regardless of this, they kept on making their way through the cave in the hope that they would make more progress with their mission in this cave. That said, though, they were still at a loss as to whether they were in the cave by themselves or not. That sound just couldn't get out of their heads. Whether they really heard it, or if it was a figment of their imagination, they knew that they were in a very interesting spot at that point in time. After wandering around in the cave for some more time, Ronnie and the rest of the team knew that it was time to get out of this labyrinth of a mine. Sure, they had heard that strange sound while they were still in there, but they had found nothing else to keep them in there other than their desire to find the legendary creature. With that in mind, it didn't take too long before they decided to make their way out of the deep and confusing cave. Although some members of the team were done with their search, some remained while the tired members of the group retreated to the camp. It had been a long night, and as time would tell, it would only get longer for the Expedition Bigfoot team.
Searched all around the camp to see if we could find any prints or signs of whatever it is that came through here, but we couldn't find anything.
An intruder in the camp. Some of the other members of the team were able to make their way out of the cave. Before long, things got even better as they took their long stroll back to their camp. Although they would be initially excited when they realized that they were drawing close to their camp, things got really interesting for them when they drew closer. That is because they realized that something other than them was triggering their motion detectors. The red light that was shining in their camp was too visible to miss as the group drew closer to the camp, and as such, they could not ignore the fact that someone or something was trespassing into their territory. Apparently, this wasn't the only weird thing to occur, because they would find something with their thermal imaging devices not too long afterwards. What on earth was going on? Were they being followed? Possibly by the creature that was making that noise when they were still in the cave? Who knows? All they knew was that all thoughts of taking a break had been put to rest for the time being. They had to do something about the fact that something was in their camp. Eager to find out what this presence could be, the team somehow developed the mettle to race to the camp. Not fearing for their safety in such a situation may sound crazy, but what would you do if you have been going after Bigfoot for so long? As they drew closer, the team even thought that they had noticed two figures in the shadows. Incredible. Could two Bigfoots really invade their camp in the dead of night? That would definitely be one for the journal. However, we must take into account that they must have come to this conclusion because two of their motion detectors were triggered. All they need to do is actually figure out who or what was in the camp with them. Interesting. Looking for answers, the team continued to survey the area in and around their camp. They were certain that something definitely came into their camp. After all, their motion detectors weren't just triggered by anything that scurried around in the area. No, they had received a mysterious visitor, and they were eager to find out who it was and why it would visit them at this hour. Looking for answers, Dr. Maria Mayer reported that although she was looking for prints, she couldn't find any in the area that she was surveying. The same thing went for the others, so they tried to put two and two together. They noticed that it wasn't a windy night as well, so they couldn't blame the triggering of their motion detectors on any loose branches or the likes. After searching the area around their tent for a while, the team decided to retreat into their camp because they just couldn't find any clues out there. If something had broken into their camp, they surely were not going to find out who it was by searching the area out there. As they made their way back to their tent, the team deliberated on the possibilities. For example, They knew that there were a lot of bears in these woods, so there was every chance that some black or brown bear had actually made its way through the camp. Maybe it was just foraging for food, who knows? That said, they just didn't think it was too likely that this would happen. If anything, the lack of answers just made them fear for their safety even more. Well, what can we say? It probably comes with the territory for those who take on the task of hunting Bigfoot. Despite the lack of answers, or perhaps because of it, Dr. Mayer and the others decided that they were going to keep up with their search for whatever was out there for the time being. They just couldn't ignore the fact that something had triggered their motion sensors that night. Although they have no idea about who or what could have triggered their motion sensors, they knew that they needed to be as alert as possible. For all they knew, their lives were actually at stake. They would not want to get caught unaware if anyone or anything actually decided to strike before they could find it. Obsidian. Back in the cave, Russell and the others who remained behind soon came to realize how deep these caves really were. Dark, wet, and dingy, this was surely a sight to behold for Russell and the rest of the team. Before long, they would come across something even more spectacular than the intricate nature of the cave. As they made their way deeper into these caves, the team realized that they were looking at a cluster of glass that was assembled within the cave. How did this get there? When Russell decided to take a closer look at the glass on the ground, he immediately realized that he wasn't looking at glass. No, strangely enough, he was looking at obsidian. Those who may not know, obsidian, also known as volcanic glass, is glass that is formed when volcanic lava cools down rapidly after it has been exposed to either water or air, or maybe even both. Looking at its sharp edges, we can tell you that this is so because of its hard and brittle nature. The edges were sharp enough to be used for surgical procedures. Amazing, right? The things that Mother Nature comes up with.
This is crazy. On the ground were some shards of obsidian in one concentrated place. Look at that.
Despite how fascinating obsidian might be, one thing was for sure: the shards of obsidian did not belong there. So again, we are left to ask how exactly they got there. This would not have been a big deal at all, at least according to Russell. The only thing is that there is no way these shards of obsidian could be found on this island naturally. We don't see any volcanoes anywhere around here, do we? There was no way they could ignore that its presence was out of place. Still, the guys really wanted to know how these shards of obsidian could have gotten there, so they took off their helmet lights to shove their thinking caps on. They turned their minds to the miners who developed these mines. Surely they didn't have any need for any obsidian while they were down there. They had all their metal tools to work with while they were down there, so the obsidian would prove to be totally useless. If the miners were out of the question, then they were just going to have to keep on thinking. Alas, the only thing that Russell and the rest of the guys seemed to be sure about was that something with opposable thumbs definitely brought these things down there, and they were just going to have to get to the bottom of the mystery. To Russell, though, there was only one thing besides an actual human being that could have brought these shards of obsidian down there. For what purpose, though, we cannot say at this point in time. What we do know is that this may be just another dimension of the mystery that is Bigfoot. As fascinating as the sight may be, Russell knew that he couldn't spend the rest of the night pondering on the possibilities down there. He also knew that he was looking at something that could prove to be important evidence in the future, so he made sure that he picked up each and every piece of obsidian that he had found while he was down there. Russell really went far with his thoughts about this, down to the fact that there was every chance that they could actually pick up some fingerprints or DNA from the obsidian. With any luck, this could answer some questions for the team. With the items in mind, the team decided that it may be best for them to get out of the mines as well. They may not have found what they were looking for, but as Russell himself said, they may have gotten their hands on the next best thing.
I collected every piece of that obsidian I could, because if anything grasped that, there should be some DNA we can pull from that.
What is that hiding in the dark warehouse? Back at the camp, things seemed to be a bit more settled for the team. At that point in time, they decided to review the tapes Russell took when he was carrying out his investigation of the abandoned warehouse just the night before. Russell told the rest of the team that although he didn't see anyone or anything, he definitely heard something while he was in there. Sounds familiar? Looking for some answers, the team decided to take a look at the footage Russell took. After some time, the team was shocked when they realized that they might have actually found something in these tapes. Looking at the tapes, the team actually noticed something in their LIDAR scan that their robot dog took while it was in the abandoned warehouse with Russell. Looking at where Russell was in the building and the part of the building where he thought the noise came from, they decided to focus on the actual camera fixed onto the robot dog. We can notice that it is looking at the actual cave. From the angle of the robot dog and its camera, it almost looks as though there was nothing there. However, when we look at the LIDAR scan, we may be shocked to find that there is actually a presence by a pile of rocks. When the team rotated the LIDAR, they could not ignore the fact that it almost looked like there was a humanoid figure sitting on the pile of rocks. Sure, some may think this was wishful thinking, but they just couldn't ignore the fact that this looked every inch as though someone was in there. As if that wasn't weird enough, the team didn't realize that this was the tip of the iceberg, because when they took an even closer look at the LIDAR scan image, they realized that as they slowly peeled the LIDAR away, it almost looks as though they could actually make up the head, back, shoulders, and other features of what looked to be a humanoid figure. To add to the situation, the team was really confused because they could not figure out why their robot dog's camera couldn't pick up this mysterious figure, but the LIDAR could.
Do you not see a human-esque form sitting on these rocks? Because that's what I see.
Watch this as we slowly start to peel away.
What is that? What is that?
Looking for answers, the team decided to take another look at Russell's footage. Hopefully, they could pick up something that they had missed. Turns out that they were right, because they actually found something. Looking at the footage that Russell took while he was moving from one corridor to another, as he tried to get out of the warehouse, the team actually noticed something. Once they got to this point, they had to slow the footage down so that they could see this amorphous blob for themselves. It seemed to be actually right behind Russell as he was making his way out of the place. They were not sure about what this was, but to the team, they were certain that they had just captured the footage of Bigfoot. Pretty amazing, right? The search for Bigfoot is always mysterious and dangerous at the same time. Was it Bigfoot who was hovering over Russell in the abandoned warehouse? Was it actually Bigfoot that left those shards of obsidian in the cave? Was it really Bigfoot that trespassed into the team's camp in the dead of night? Who knows? What we are sure of is that the team is hard at work to bring this mystery to an end. The clip with the amorphous blob is hopeful and circumstantial at best, and there is every chance that they may never find out who or what was in their camp that night. What we do know is that these guys are dedicated to the search for the legendary cryptid, and if they keep going like this, there is every chance that they may bring this search to an end. Let's see if they will actually find any evidence of Bigfoot out there. From the amazing discoveries made during the search for a cave, and the terrifying sensation of learning that a mysterious figure had invaded their camp to coming within an inch of the legendary creature, here is how Bigfoot was captured on LIDAR during a secret cave exploration.